Now, if you spend any amount of time on the internet in the past few years, you have no doubt come across these many memes of overachieving Chinese students or Asian students in schools around the world. Well, that's partly down to, the Chinese culture or the Asian culture of placing a very heavy emphasis on education. But do you know that before the age of internet, before the age of memes, the Chinese were known as overachievers in another totally different field? Now, what field is that? Well, that's in the field of trade and commerce. I mean, barring mainland China, modern mainland China, for the past few decades or even past few hundreds of years, Chinese merchants were famous around the world for being shrewd and very profit-driven. And they were known to be some of the best business people in any community in the world. I mean, anywhere you can find a Chinese community in the world, you will definitely see that some of the most successful local or regional businesses in that place, at least one of them will be run by a Chinese person. And this success inevitably, attracted some jealousy and some hatred from the locals, and it caused quite a bit of a problem. But that's another story. The point is, the Chinese have been famous merchants and traders for a very long time, right back to, the 15th, 16th, 17th century. And even before that, I mean, anyone remember the Silk Road? Yeah? Yeah. So where did this come from? Where did this culture of trade and commerce and business come from? Where did this idea come from? Well, that's what we are going to talk about today in today's story. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Apingo and I am the chain-smoking writer. Here we share the myths, legends and histories of the Chinese people from the first creator to the last imperial dynasty. More than 6,000 years of stories, one video at a time. And if you would like to join us on this journey through time, remember to give a thumb to this video and a sub for the channel to be notified whenever a new video drops every Tuesday and Friday 7 PM Singapore time. That's GMT plus 8. Now, on to the story. So in the last episode, we told the story of Xiang Tu and how he brought the Shang people and the Shang clan to arguably one of his greatest peak pre-dynasty. And after he passed away, a few generations passed, and during the era of Shao Kang restoration in the Xia dynasty, if you want to know more about that part of history, here's a cut to that video. Yeah. So during the Shao Kang restoration era, Ming, who was the great-grandson of Xiang Tu, became the 6th generation leader of the Shang people. Now, Ming was also known as Shang Hou Ming, which literally translates to Ming, the Count of Shang. Most probably that's a title or posthumous title. Now, during Shao Kang's reign, as we all know, floods around the Yellow River started to become a problem for the realm once again. The Yellow River started flooding and destroying vast areas of lands in the coastal regions once again. And at this time, Ming was given the responsibility. He was appointed to be the overall in charge of dealing with the floods and ensuring that the flood waters are under control. Now, as with his first ancestor Qi, the first ancestor of the Shang people, Ming approached this mission with great caution and great diligence. After a simple but solemn ceremony to ask the gods for their blessings and their protection, Ming dove straight into his job. And, rather than being just a paper pusher or like what we call paper generals who just sit in their command posts all day, Ming was actually a very hands-on leader, and he often led his team personally into the areas that were worst hit by the floods. Now, after spending much time investigating the causes of these floods, why these floods are happening again after so many years, Ming and his team found the underlying reasons for all these disasters happening all over again. And the reason was that, the old canals and the irrigation channels and the ditches that were being dug and built during Yu's time, when he was combating the great floods, had once again been backed up, blocked, and in some cases they were totally collapsed due to the years of neglect and disrepair. I mean, remember there were a few decades of mismanagement in the realm by this time. Now, once the cause, the reason of these problems have been identified, Ming mobilized the people living along the banks of the Yellow River to clear the debris that had built up over the years and to dig new canals and new ditches to release the pressure of the flood waters, to release the waters, to redirect them back into the main river. And he also contributed a significant number of horses and cattle and bullocks from the Shang clan to be used in hauling away debris and for quicker and more efficient lines of travel and communication between different work sites. And all these efforts and all this time and this work put into this mission yielded significant results, and agricultural growth in the realm during Shao Kang's reign was restored, to a more sustainable level. At least people are not, dying because of the lack of food. And after Shao Kang passed away, his son King Shoo ascended to the throne, and Ming was still working on the river projects, the flood projects. And by the time of the 13th year of the reign of King Shoo, it was said that by now the elderly Ming kind of lost his footing on one of his canal clearing missions, and he drowned in the Yellow River, But another version of the story said that, Ming passed away due to old age and exhaustion after spending his entire life battling the Yellow River. But either way, Ming was highly respected and was held in high regard, for his dedication to the cause and his life of sacrifice to keep the people of the land safe from the destruction of the flood waters. And after his passing, some communities around the Yellow River region actually kind of deified him and worshipped him as a minor deity of the waters. So after Ming passed away, after Shang Ho-Ming passed away, his son, whose name was Zhen, and he was also known as Wang Hai, or literally translated, it could be Prince Hai. So that is most probably another posthumous title given to him by later descendants of the Shang people. So Wang Hai took over as the new leader of the Shang clan. So by now it's a 7th generation leader. And Wang Hai basically spent the early part of his life assisting his father in the flood control works. And not only was he a great assistant to his father, he also came up with the ingenious idea of using bullock carts to haul away the dirt and debris dredged up from the blocked canals and ditches and channels and what have you. And when Wang Hai returned to the Shang lands to lead his people after his father's passing, the clan by this time had already attained a remarkably high standard of living. The availability of stable food sources and the huge reserves that the Shang clan holds meant that the people had access to high quality nutrition and food, and they did not have to go hungry. And as we know, having access to high quality proteins and nutrition will greatly improve the health of the people, greatly improve their immunity and their immune system. So they were better able to deal with diseases, and they were able to bounce back faster if they were ever to meet with any natural disaster. Because, I mean, come on, they had like reserves to spare by this time. In fact, they had so much reserves. The biggest problem that the Shang people faced at this time was the overproduction of food and other produce and resources. They produced so much livestock and other materials that even trading with their neighboring clans was not enough to clear out the the huge amount of stock that they have, and a lot of it will just go bad and be wasted. So in a bid to reduce this wastage and to further expand their influence, Wang Hai decided to use his bullock carts that he came up with during the flood control missions. He decided to use these bullock carts to transport resources across the realm to trade with other tribes and clans who were further away and were previously too far to trade with. And Wang Hai would personally lead these caravan of traders to visit all the different clans and tribes of the land to barter for the different resources needed by the different peoples in different parts of the realm. And it was said that the traveling caravan, the traveling merchants, went as far as what is today the Korean Peninsula. So yeah, that's a bit of perspective for you. That's how far these people traveled. And basically, Wang Hai was the first traveling merchant in Chinese history. And Wang Hai and his traders were so well known at that time, that when people saw his caravan arriving, they would exclaim, "The Shang people are here, the Shang people are here." In Chinese, it would be 商人来了, 商人来了. And this term became so synonymous with merchants and business and commerce that today, the term for merchants, traders, businessmen, the Chinese term for it is 商人. Yeah, that term survived until today, and it is the official term for traders, merchants, and businessmen. And businesses is known as 商务 or 商行. And commerce and the conducting of business is 商业. So yeah, business in the Chinese term for business and commerce is all named after the Shang people. That's how much influence they had. So that just goes to show how influential this action and this idea Wang Hai came up with was. I mean that it's so influential that today, some 3,000 over 4,000 years later, the term that we use is basically named after him and his people. Yeah. So Wang Hai spent the rest of his life traveling around the realm and trading with the different peoples, the different tribes, the different clans. And yeah, it really literally is the rest of his life, because on his last trading mission, it was said to have happened with the Youyi clan around today's Yi River region in Hebei. Now, it was said that when Wang Hai and his brother Wang Huan arrived in the Youyi clan settlement, greed took over the battle senses of the Youyi chief named Jin Chen, and he killed Wang Hai and robbed the Shang people of their goods. Wang Huan was lucky to narrowly escape with his life from the massacre, and made his way back to Shangqiu, the Shang lands, through great difficulties. However, historians from very early on kind of have disputed this version of events. One school of thought posited that Wang Hai had an affair with Jin Chen's wife, and since the Shang clan and the Youyi clan were kind of related through marriage from previous generations, the affair was kind of considered incestuous, and of course, you are having an affair with the wife of the chief of a clan, so that's like not exactly the smartest thing to do. And on top of that, it was considered incestuous. So Wang Hai was caught and he was executed, and not only executed, he was actually dismembered, cut into pieces. Yeah. Then one more school of thought that was recorded in the Book of Mountain and Seas, Shan Hai Jing. It was said that Jin Chen was actually overjoyed when he saw Wang Hai's caravan arriving at his settlement, and he prepared a lavish feast to welcome them. However, after having one too many drinks at the feast, the drunk, by this time very drunk, Wang Hai started making indecent advances towards Jin Chen's wife, and this of course angered the chief, and he ordered the killing of Wang Hai and confiscated all their goods while expelling the rest of the trade envoy from Youyi lands. And the final version of the story was related by Yuan, a scholar of the Chu kingdom during the Warring States period, who said that Wang Hai's murder was actually a conspiracy between his own wife, Wang Hai's own wife, who was from the Youyi clan, and his own brother Wang Huan. So he felt that it's kind of sus that after Wang Hai's death, his wife immediately married his brother Wang Huan, and they kind of like took over his personal wealth and stuff like that. So yeah, but no matter the version of events and what happened, we know that he most probably died because of a woman, and the goods were confiscated by the Youyi, and they basically a grudge between the Shang people and the Youyi clan started at this time. So, but no matter the version, Wang Hai's status in the hearts of the Shang people was never tainted, and in fact, he was the only pre-dynastic leader of the Shang clan to be given the honorific title of Prince Wang by his later descendants, and the ancestral worship, the ceremonies accorded to him, by the descendants of the Shang people were sometimes even on par. In terms of extravagance and in terms of level, sometimes even on par with the rituals and the ceremonies that were, specifically performed for the heavens and for the gods. Now, since we're on the topic of trade and commerce and businesses and merchants, here's a little bonus fact. The earliest Chinese record of currency being used in trade, I mean, instead of bartering where you are paying for stuff with money with currency, the earliest records of currency being used was during the Shang Dynasty. Now, the first currencies that were used by the Shang people were seashells produced along the southern coast of China, as they were rare, valuable, and portable, which is very important. They fulfilled the three basic conditions to be used as currency. And the basic unit of calculations for this currency was known as the peng. And one peng consisted of 10 shells strung up together in a string or a bundle. And this was the earliest record of currency being used in trade and commerce. And when archaeologists discovered the tomb of Queen Fu Hao in the Yinxi archaeological site, they found 700 pengs worth of seashells buried with her. So, of course, we all know that this is a limited supply kind of item. So, when supply of these seashells could not keep up with the demand in circulation, in the demand in circulation for currency, bone and jade were carved into the shape of shells, roughly about 2 to 3 cm long, small little things. They were carved in the shape of shells to be used as currency as well. And by the time of the late Shang Dynasty, about 1400 BC to about 1100 BC, even copper was used, and they were cast also into the shape of shells to be used as the currency of the time. So yeah, that's that. That's the story of the origin of Chinese merchants who are famous until today. And I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I enjoyed telling it. And if you did, remember a thumb for the video and a sub for the channel. And if you would like to support the channel beyond the like and the sub, you can do so on the Patreon page. The links are here and down in the description box below. Patreon supporters enjoy early access to videos as much or at least 1 week in advance of everyone else on YouTube. And tier 2 and above supporters get free copies of my ebook when it's going to be published, most probably at the end of the year. So if you are interested and if you are able to, it will really help to keep the lights on around here. So just head over to my Patreon site through the link below and to find out more about it. And as usual, I look forward to all your feedback, your thoughts, and your banter down in the comment section below. I do personally go through all the comments. I do personally respond to all of them whenever possible. So yeah, leave your thoughts and comments below. And I guess that's it for today. And I will see you in the next episode.